into this null, it means that the rest of my system is going to work flawlessly. Okay? Whereas if it's all just complicated in one thing and I want to change my idea and everything, it potentially means that I can mess up my scene or make it disorganized. Okay, so imagine that instead of us making this brick, we're bringing in this brick from a different location on the network that we were given by a modeling department or something like that. Does that make sense, guys? Yes.
Do you still import it into your scene, or
Yes.
do you just call it up through the network?
We would import it, and the way we do that is with a file SOP.
Okay.
So here it's loading a geometry file like an OBJ. You would just plug that in instead. Bloop. Okay.
So that's my question. You just click on this little box and you already have the wire like following you. What did you do to make this connection?
I clicked once here, and then I clicked once here.
Okay, so like you click and drag to the connection. This is you go click.
Yeah. Or you could do.
Like destination.
Another thing, what means you said, but I didn't understand. What means when you click on this left box? Like you have the blue box on the right that activate the node, and what is the other side?
Oh, you mean this thing?
Yeah, disable.
No, he's asking what are the tags? What are the flags?
On the node itself, you were disabling the expression with the left box.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
disabling the node.
So I wasn't disabling the expression, I was disabling the whole node.
Yeah.
So this is the visibility. Let me zoom in really close here. They have cool little icons. So this is the eye. All right. Now this is a little different. This means this purple one. Okay. So basically, if I were to have my visibility flag on my output, but the purple one up here, it means that if I were to render this, then this one would render even though I'm viewing this one. Okay?
Let's say it again, please.
So if I were to render this object right now, then this guy would render because it's purple. This is only, the blue is for viewing, the purple is for rendering. Okay? So, but they're both on the, oh, it changed to a little film guy there, see? Okay.
How did you do to change the circles?
Okay, so let me see. So I control clicked. Yeah. But this is all stuff that, the interface will make sense as we keep working with it.
Just a last question.
Yes.
Sometimes it appears like red stripes.
Yes.
On the node.
Okay, I saw a lot of red stripes so far. All right, let's get into those red stripes. Okay, that's a great question. All right, and I'll even do that intentionally sometimes. I'll go like this, $error. Okay, and there is no local variable called error, so I'll get an error. If there's something that's so bad that I don't want the user to do, if I design a tool for someone else, then I'll do that, and I'll say if they do this, then show this node, and it'll make the whole system crash on the render farm, which is a good thing because I want them to know that it's wrong. But normally when you get red, it's bad, and what this means is here we can see. Unable to evaluate expression, undefined variable in ty. That's a pretty descriptive error message. It means, okay, I go to ty. So here I can see, okay, I've got up here tx, ty, tz. I'm going to go to ty. Aha! This is an undefined expression, undefined variable in my expression. All right, so I would have to change that to something that it knows, like y size. Or is that size y? I errored at that time, okay. Size y, there we go. So I moved it up by one length of itself by typing in size y there, okay? So yeah, if you type in something that Houdini doesn't like, it's gonna give you an error. If you just type in nothing, it's gonna give you an error, okay? So if you ever get like a blank expression, you don't want an expression there, just right click and delete the channels. Okay? So sometimes if it should be like, oh, I accidentally type in a letter Okay, I want to get rid of that letter. It still thinks you have an expression there, so just delete the expression. Okay? All right.
And what did you do to bring up the error message again?
Middle click. Right now, there's no errors. It just says how many points it has, how many polygons, memory usage, all kinds of stuff. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to recap that whole process one more time, and then we're going to get into something a little more challenging. Okay. All right. So I made a geometry node. I called it brick. Okay. I went inside this object. I made a box. Left the box at the default size. Okay. From there, we're going to transform the box, make it, whatever proportions that we want. Okay. Next, transform it again. Up here, I'm going to type in -y minimum to move it up onto the ground plane. From there, I'm going to give it a null. Call it output, whatever. Then in a new object, this would be our effects system. So this is the stuff we're starting with. This would be our system that we base that on. I'm going to go inside there. Once again, delete the default. Object merge node. And in my object, I'm going to do a reference to that. Oops. There you go. There we go. So that was the whole process we just did, right? Okay. So Houdini is slow going at first, but once we get the basics, and I know it seems like we're starting from scratch, even though we've been doing lots of cool stuff for however long you guys have been taking classes. It is worth the wait, okay? And you'll find that you learn a lot of things about the 3D programs you are working with just by exploring a more basic level approach to things. I learned a lot of things about 3D Studio Max when I started learning Houdini. I learned, oh wow, so modifiers are actually at geometry level and not object level. I didn't really know stuff like that too well, but Houdini will even teach you kind of what you're doing in Maya or Nuke sometimes as well. So keep that in mind. All right. So here's our brick, and I'm going to do our first copying technique. And the reason I always like to start off introductory lessons with copying is because it's just about the funnest thing you can do in Houdini is make lots and lots of copies of stuff. It also really demonstrates proceduralism. Who can tell me what proceduralism is? Proceduralism. What is if something is procedural, what does that mean to CG?
It's that system that you just set up one thing, then you're gonna make a copy to the whole system, right?
It's not always a copy.
Yeah.
Procedural is like a set of instructions that goes in a specific order and it can be traced back to any point.
Yeah, so Nuke is like that, right? So if we start with an image and then we do this elaborate procedure to get out the green screen, if we plug in a different image with green screen as well, it's going to go through that same procedure, right? It's going to get rid of the green there too. All right, so same idea in Houdini. If we start with a brick, then it'll make copies of our brick regardless of if we plug in this brick or that brick or that brick. Why is that useful for effects?
You don't have to build a network all over again.
Yeah, and these networks can go on for months. Like if you spend 2 months building a network for this complicated effect, you don't want to say, okay, I got a new building to blow up. They made a change to the door. I guess I have to start over for 2 months, right? So that's why Houdini is used in effects often is because of that ability that it has. Other programs are procedural, like Maya and Max can be procedural, like with deformers and with modifiers and things like that, but they're not built from the ground up as a procedural paradigm. Okay, whereas Houdini is built from the ground up as a procedural paradigm. Houdini can be slower because you can't just go in and drag and drop and get stuff to work. It's slower in that respect, but the payoff is that when things change, then you do not start from scratch, or you do not have to run scripts or things like that. So that's a trade-off, and that's when you guys get in production, that's a trade-off that can either be good or bad, because sometimes you do want to do an effect and you just want to slap stuff together, like, oh no, I wish I was using Maya for this, you know. But if it's a complicated thing, it's going to take a long time to do, then you might go, okay, I'm really glad I'm using Houdini for this, because otherwise I'd be in a bad spot with, you know, changes and things like that. Okay. So, all right. This is the first copying technique. All right. So first, gonna merge in our brick. Oops, I set it to the file merge. My box again. There we go. Okay. This thing works just like a web browser, by the way. Okay. All right, so here's merging in our brick. And I'm making a bunch of copies. Woo! We did something. All right, how we do that? Okay. I think I can take this network from scratch here. Okay. Let's do this from scratch. Okay. Got my brick. Now this is the funnest node in Houdini, alright guys? Copy SOP. Oh, SOP means surface operator. You just call it SOP for short. Okay, so copy SOP. And it doesn't do anything by default, okay? So by default it's making one copy of itself, which is itself. I want to make 10 bricks. So I'm going to type in 10 copies. Now, it still didn't do anything. They're all right here. If I look at my point numbers, well, it's only showing the top one, I guess, but there's a lot of points in here. See, this has 8 points. This has 80 points. All right? So it made 10 copies. Now, if I want to translate this, as I translate this, it's going to start to show progressively translating each copy.
You change the value is with the kick off.
What's that?
When you change the translate, you with the kick off.
Yeah, you can hit enter in here, and you have like an interactive guide too. Probably shouldn't have shown you guys that, but anyway. So yeah, this is just the Z translate. All right, so our brick is oriented on the Z axis. So every brick is going to be moved by 0.269 units as it gets copied, each progressive copy. Okay. So here I'm just going to get this. Going to get this just right. Okay, looks like it's about that. Okay.
Why are you translating using a number instead of an expression for the width of the brick?
Because this is the first example.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we'll get to the expression for it in the third example. Yeah. All right. So I translated by that. Now bricks are normally offset from each other, right? Okay, so they start with one row, and then up the next row they're offset a bit, right? Okay. So what node could we use to translate to offset these things up a little bit? The one we already learned, right? Okay. So here we can see where Houdini, oh no, okay. Houdini, we actually start to be able to use these basic things that we can easily do in other programs, but here in a procedural context, they become a lot more powerful, right? So I've copied this. Now we can use the same node we already learned, and I'm just going to move that up in Y. All right, and over. Now, if we wanted to see what we came from, I'm just going to hit the template flag here, and so I can see what this previous guy is. Okay, so I'm going to move that up, and then I'm just going to move it over. There we go. That's about right. Okay, once again, I'm not using expressions yet. I don't want to kill you guys yet. Okay. Yet. All right. Next, I'm going to do a new node called a merge node. What do you think that does? Yeah, because we've got this piece of geometry here. We've got this piece of geometry, but neither one does us any good on its own, right? So we want to merge that geometry together. So now I'm going to do a merge, and I'm going to merge this guy with this guy. If you want to disconnect, just click into blank space, reconnect, just do that. Okay? What the merge does is just what it says. It merges two things or more together. All right. So now we've got two rows. Now, if I wanted to make more rows, what node could I use?
Again.
Yes, good job, guys. All right, we're starting to think procedural here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do another thing that I just did, and this time, which direction am I going to copy it in? Yeah, I think I heard it. Okay, I think we got it. Okay, so I'm going to make 5 copies here. I'm just going to copy it in Y. All right. Okay, now we got our brick wall. Wasn't so bad, right? Now, what would happen if instead of this object merge, I were to plug in something else? Once again, procedural.
It'll do the same thing.
Well, it would do kind of the same thing. So I'm going to plug in a sphere instead. Just for sanity's sake, I'm going to make this a small sphere. Okay, so pretty cool, huh? All right. So this way we get a brick wall. This way we get bubble wrap. Okay. Okay, but let's make a brick wall. Okay, so we guys got this, right? We got our object merge. We copy it once. All right. We transform it over and up, merge them together, copy it a second time.